areas of the country. On the other hand, my office staff never was positive. We had 14 out of 50 on our crew, but we had an unbelievable number of sick days that were associated with the quarantining, positives, and contact tracing. Uh, Many people have been impacted in greater ways, and although we're not meeting in Waikiki due to the restrictions for these reasons, I'm very pleased that the numbers are dropping rapidly and the pace of the vaccines is ramping up so quick that it looks like we're going to have a on track to happier days and a terrific meeting in Chicago in October. I think all of us miss the networking and the rekindling of the friendships that we get at these meetings. So I would say that short of an outright ban, I think we'll be going forward with the Chicago event, even if we have to social distance and keep the masks on. So real quick before we start, I want to say that one of the big positives that's come out of this necessity for virtual meetings like we're having today is that our participation in committees is greater than ever. And it's most likely going forward, we will augment our traditional in-person committee meetings with a virtual component going forward. I've been able to join many of these committee meetings, and I appreciate that many of you are giving so much of your time to our organization by participating in the committee where much of the work gets done. Once more, a shout out to our committee chairs that keep this ball rolling, like Diane Case for technical, Jessa McGuire for safety, Christopher Perigo and Darren Shalaha in programs, and too many others to name. But I think that I'm encouraging all of you to pick one of these committees and listen in, if nothing else. I think we have a great opportunity to engage a lot more of the membership to help do the work that benefits our entire industry. So with that said, I'd like to pay some bills and offer a big thank you as we recognize the sponsors for today's event. We have at the gold level sponsorship, we have MSEAL, and Eric's going to give us a presentation on for them. And we also have Structural Waterproofing Consultants as a gold sponsor. Our silver sponsor is Tremco, and none the least, maybe the most important, is Century Building Solutions, my own company, which I put my money where my mouth is since I get to talk so much anyhow. So thanks again, guys. Seriously, we appreciate the immense and ongoing support from these companies. And likewise, we hope that you will continue to support them with your business opportunities as the economy keeps improving this year. Again, one of the benefits of the gold sponsor, $500, is that we give you 5 minutes to talk. John Lamb of Structural Waterproofing Consultants is well known for his fishing skills, but he asked that I read his PowerPoint slide that promotes their company, and I've actually had some of his fresh fish, so I got your back, John. Building envelope consultants play a vital role in managing risk and sustaining a structure's health, longevity, and value. By performing forensic building envelope assessments and construction documents, a complete examination of a structure's exterior from roof to below grade, we provide an accurate professional assessment of the structure's current condition, weatherability, and susceptibility to water intrusion. As independent observers of the construction phase for both new and existing projects, we ensure that all building envelope systems are properly constructed and meet manufacturer specification, industry standards, and SWR Institute guidelines. Our services extend to third-party assessments of exterior finishes, brick, stucco, EIFS, metal panel, composite siding, window and door installations, roofing systems, and the application of protective coatings, seals, and sealants. Again, thank you to our gold sponsors. If you have jobs that structural waterproofing consultants can assist on, we appreciate your support. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Eric Vellender of MSEAL, and we'll now take advantage of his 5 minutes to tell you more about his products and company.
Well, thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm Eric Vellender. I'm Mid-Atlantic Regional Manager for MSEAL. Jennifer, you want to just, I guess, move to the next slide, please? So here's a question we get a lot of the times, right? How do we tie wall joints into roof or plaza type joints? Can you click, please? So here's a common detail we get that we see from a roofing standpoint. The question we always get is, how do we tie that vertical into that horizontal condition? Next slide, please. Here's an example of transitions roof to wall. So the first slide you'll see right here, you know, if you talk to a maintenance guy on this project, he'd tell you this is quote dope and hope condition, right? So there's a transition right there where it could have had a boot created on that vertical and tied into the roof joint on that horizontal to maintain you have a continuity of seal there. Next. Here's another example, existing to new, where we'll see a vertical joint go up to maintain the proper distance and maintain their expansion joint between the two buildings, tying into that roof joint. Next slide. Here's a common one we just recently received. Somebody had a roof joint coming into a condition on a parapet, and the question always, how do we transition here on that parapet roof? Next slide. So when we get into roof joint, for example, this is our what we call continuity of seal. This helps us to transition between vertical to horizontal roof conditions. And it's a patented dual seal system with a dual flange extruded rubber system, ties into all commercial roofing membranes, and then also waterproofing systems. Uses and application areas that you'll see it. You'll see it on roofs. You'll see it into plaza assemblies. You'll see it on green or vegetated roof assemblies, and you also see it buried in softscape aspects. Next slide, please. Oh, go up. I'll go up one. There should be one more slide.
Huh. Well, hold on.
Oh, no problem.
Get it back up to where it was. Sorry. Is this it?
It's
This
there
one?
should have been a video section between slides 6 and 7.
Well,
Yeah.
darn it. I don't, this is all.
All right. So unfortunately, there was an animated roofing video, really actually showed kind of, and I'll describe it in a way. Basically what this stuff, it basically comes at extruded membrane, and it's as long runs as we can. The biggest question we have is all the time is how do you get into a parapet condition or edge of roof is a question that we always get. And from that standpoint, there's two conditions on a parapet. How do you do
Nicole, Eric got muted somehow.
I know, I'm unmuting him.
Do-
There he goes.
So in regards, I don't know how much you heard in regards to the animated video, but bottom line, we're going to show basically how we tie into TPO and maintaining that continuity of seal. There's two conditions when we hit a roof condition. It's usually coming up and over a parapet and tying into the vertical or into an edge of roof aspect. And depending on if it's over a parapet, there's two conditions we can use. Is basically the TPO roof membrane or PVC roof membrane to go up and over that. We call factory fabricated transitions to maintain that continuity seal. The second condition is a boot condition, where you basically tie in our pre-compressed foam seismic color seal and it ties back into the vertical. So from that standpoint, like I said before, that question always comes, how do we tie the vertical into the horizontal? Can you bring up that last slide, Jennifer,
Yes.
please?
I believe so. Darn it. Sorry. Okay.
So when you get into finalizing roof joint aspect, like you said, is a PVC or TPO type membrane. The biggest thing for that, we always say continuity seal. We always describe it no different than a continuous air barrier. If you take your pen off your piece of paper, you have a void in your air barrier. Same thing with an expansion joint. If it comes from a vertical and up and over a roof, you want to maintain that continuity seal. So the first picture to the left, you'll see those are 90-degree transitions, what we call factory fabricated transitions. We want the waterproof or the roofer to basically weld the straight runs and leave it up to MCL from the standpoint of warranty-less factory fabricated transition. The second one in the middle, you'll see an edge to roof condition where it's in a 90-degree downturn and basically tying into the vertical. In conclusion, like I said, when it's specified and designed properly, when you go vertical to those horizontal and you maintain that continuity of seal and ensuring, because that's a big void spot, and maintain that airtight, watertight aspect. I appreciate everybody's time. Unfortunately, I wish you'd be able to see the video. Maybe one time I'll be able to get that video online.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Eric, if you want to send that to us, we can send it out to everyone.
Perfect.
Or maybe Nicole has it, we can send it.
I think it just looked voided on the presentation. That's why. It just looked like a white piece.
Ah.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to continue and thank Eric for that. I'm sorry about the wouldn't be Zoom if we didn't have a little bit of technical problems. The fact is, you see now I've changed my background. We're about to get back in after the presentation. We're going to do some networking. We hope that other people will also have some project pictures. This is one that I have, and I'll talk about that when I get into the background room. Thanks again, Eric. I appreciate MCL for the technical knowledge and the diligence that you guys bring to the projects. My company uses quite a bit of it. Thank you again for your sponsorship. Jennifer, let's get this program going.
All right, welcome everybody. Before we get started, I'm just going to go over a few Zoom tips. Everybody is currently on mute, and that's just to help with the background noise. If you have a question after Nadia and Kai get through with their presentation, send a direct chat to Nicole just to say that you've have a question, and she's going to keep a running list of you guys. And at the end, she will call on you in order received. And at that time, you can take yourself off mute to ask your question. And you can take yourself off mute by using the little icon that's by your video screen for mute and unmute. And also wanted to just kind of show you how you will upload this background image that we have asked you to do. So on Zoom itself, if you go up towards the upper left-hand screen of the screen, there is it's a armor with an exclamation point in it. And so if you click on that, it's going to bring up a pop-up box. And then up in the right-hand corner of that pop-up box is a gear shift. And so when you click on that, you're going to see background and filters. And so right under the photo that's currently showing, there's a little box with a plus on it. And so you would hit that and choose add image. And then you would go browse through and find where you saved that image. And you just double click on that image. It then adds it as an option for you as a background. And you then click on it when it shows up there below your picture frame, and it'll be your background after that. And so once we get through this and when we get in the breakouts, if anybody's having any trouble, we can help you with it then too. And so without further ado, we will get started with our presentation today, Nadia Anise and Kai Alcharabi with Ferrari Mo. Ms. Anise is an architect and a partner at Ferrari Mo, an architectural and engineering firm based in San Francisco, specializing in all aspects of historic and contemporary building envelope restoration. Ms. Anise has extensive experience in diagnostics and remedial design and construction. She obtained a Master's of Architecture and Urban Design from Washington University, St. Louis, and a Bachelor of Architectural Engineering from Cairo University. Kai is a designer and a project manager at Ferrari Mo, an architectural and engineering firm based in San Francisco. Kai has an extensive international experience in civic, residential, and recreational projects. He completed both his bachelor's in fine arts and his master's of architecture at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And Kai is a few exams away from becoming a licensed architect in California. So without further hesitation, Nadia and Kai, I will turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. We're very pleased to be here and honored to have that many people able to join us today for our presentation. Kai and I are sitting in the same room, so we're going to space out because we're in masks right now. I want to, before we start the presentation, I want to acknowledge our two partners who are online today with us. And that is Jacques Tabry with Alpha Restoration and Waterproofing, and Sarah Hollander with Proseco. We had other partners, they're all SWRI members. We actually used MSeal on the building. We also used Tremco. But without further ado, we'll start with the presentation. The building we're presenting today is a small but important commercial and retail building in the heart of the retail district in San Francisco. The building facade is divided into two facades, as you can see on the screen. It's steel frame with masonry infill and Calusa sandstone clad. It has the original wood windows. It has the original facade on the street level, which is steel windows, as we will review. Here is a map of the location of the building. It's half a block from Union Square, the retail district in downtown San Francisco. We had great limitations imposed on us because of the location of the building and because of the kind of retail tenants that occupy the building. The tenants in the building, one is Yves Saint Laurent, the other one is Bottega Veneta. They're both, high-end retailers. They pay huge amounts of money to our client. We understood that Yves Saint Laurent pays something in the realm of $300,000 a month for rent. So obviously they have great restrictions included in their lease, limiting how much the duration of any construction on the facade to only 60 days. So we only had 60 days to accomplish the project. The fact that the building is divided into two facades facilitated that, because we had 60 days on one side of the building, 60 days on the other side of the building. The retail tenants are squarely underneath each one of the two parts of the facade, so that made it easier to navigate the leasing agreement requirements. Additionally, then the city of San Francisco has limitations when it comes to the holiday season, because all sidewalk obstructions and scaffolding has to be removed before we come close to the holiday season, which is marked by Thanksgiving. So before Thanksgiving, everything had to be off the site. That imposed additional, limitations. We started by surveying the facade. We did a visual survey identifying the materials on the facade. We did some very limited destructive testing to verify the conditions behind one piece of stone. We did, obviously, hazardous material testing was conducted by an environmental engineer. We did adhesion testing on the coating that is on the stone because we weren't going to remove all of it. And then we did, obviously, some grout testing. This is the facade before the survey. And here is a delineation of the components of the facade. We have metal cornice at the top. We had a couple of large water tables, and obviously we had stone window sills at each window. And then first, which is street level, and second floor, we had steel windows. The metal cornice, luckily, were really in fantastic shape. It turned out they were all zinc alloy and in just amazing shape. The building was built in the early 1920s, so almost 100 years now. We just had a lot of flaky paint that was obviously loaded with lead. So here is a couple of pictures near the cornice that my colleagues are fond of taking pictures of me on scaffold so that they can make fun of me later. The stone survey, which is the most complicated aspect of our survey, we had plenty of weathered sound stone. So stone that had exfoliated in the past, but had been taken down to sound stone and then painted. So you can see plenty of examples where we are starting to lose details of the ornamental details on some of the cornices and other ornamental pieces, but examples of where the stone was really sound, was not experiencing deterioration. We also had light exfoliation, and that was widespread. We had deep exfoliation, particularly a badly hit area on the building was the lettering at the top of the building, and they were originally carved in the stone. And also the ornamental, the stonework below the wide water table above the second floor was experiencing extremely severe deterioration. We have some broken stone. And we have failed patching. The patches had been removed. The client had the contractor go out and remove them a couple of years earlier, but we could see from the corroded rebar and the anchors where these failed patches were. And then finally, we had grout joint cracking. And I have to acknowledge that because of the paint on the stone, we really missed some of where the cracks were. It turned out the grout that was the repointing of the building at some point in time was done with terrible grout that was really hard. And so it was cracked, but it wasn't so very readily visible everywhere. This is just an example of a joint in the stone in one of the water table. We had plenty of intact stone that may have had some minor spots of weathering, but plenty of details were intact. We had no cracking of the stone itself anywhere on the building, which was really amazing. Wood windows were in very bad state of repair. All the windows on the building have been fixed shut. The windows air conditioned. The building is air conditioned. We have deteriorated paint. We had lots of really bad glazing stops. We ended up replacing the majority of the glazing stops and some of the trims that got added over the years. We don't quite understand all the different layers of repairs that happened on the building for the wood windows. Some of them, as you can see on this slide, were enforced with some sheet metal angles at the corners to stabilize the sashes. And then completely decayed sills in isolated area, primarily close to the large water table, because I think water was allowed to linger there. Steel windows on the street level and the second floor were really in amazingly good shape. These steel windows had wood sashes inserts in them. Here's an example of like the worst corrosion we found on the steel windows was just some minor surface corrosion. We compiled the survey on an old elevation, was the only elevation that the client had at the time. So that was our survey compilation. Then we entered into pre-design. The client wanted us to roll immediately into production of a permit set. I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague Kai to present that next segment. Kai.
Thank you, Nadia. Hi, hello, everyone. So the pre-design, I think the most important and most exciting part was to do the laser scanning to get the orthographic projection, and that helped tremendously in the whole project. There's also it was very important to talk to the client, and we understood that they expressed their desire in keeping these historical aesthetic of the whole building. So we did not want to have a very kind of polished building. So with that, we actually went into the design strategy, talking to the client about what stone to replace, what stone to treat, and then what are the replacement options, and also how we were going to treat the steel and the wood treatment. And from here, we jumped into our design and in our set, and I'm going to walk you through our set that we actually submitted to get the permit. But before then, I just want to talk about the entire design criteria. And I'm going to read these points because I think they're important. They do actually get the whole criteria of work. One of them, and I'm going to start by saying the replacing deteriorated stone windowsills in kind, resegmenting large water table to allow utilization of natural stone, and you will see that on the 7th floor water table. Replacing ornamental column capitals and other critical features in kind, cap, repaired or replaced stone water table, and windowsills with zinc-coated copper, Dutchman repair on broken stone, rebuild lettering on site, patching and resurfacing deeply exfoliated stone, resurfacing lightly exfoliated stone, and restoring wood windows, and replacing decayed sashes as necessary. And of course, stripping and coating the zinc cornices and steel windows and recoating the stone. So one of, I think, what we did, the way we approached this is by taking the orthographic drawing and then overlaying our survey on top of it. And this helped a lot with first communicating with the city to get the permit of what the building situation was and the current situation about it, and also with communicating with our contractor about where each of the issue was going on, located. This is the zoomed in to our legend. So as you can see, we just identify each problem with color-coded dots. And then we did and then after that we did the same by overlaying our scope of work on top of the orthographic projection. And this also was tremendous help in the field because it was just easy to pinpoint right away to what is the problem and then how are we going to treat it. Just you flip between the two pages and you have kind of a complete picture of our scope of work. And I think that was a very thorough scope of work diagram that again helped a lot with all aspects of the project. And then we did the general one sheet of details, just trying to capture the most important parts. And then as you can see, we have two sections of the two facades, and then we do have some details of the window heads, and then we do also have details of the windowsills and how are we going to pin them. They were, as I said, just an overall picture to capture what we are changing, but I would say the most important thing was always referring back to our scope of work diagram that really identified in detail each thing that we were doing on the project. So I'm going to walk you through the construction. I'm going to start from the building from top all the way down to the bottom. So the metal cornice, and in these pictures you'll see the progress of the work, the kind of work in progress and what's going on. So metal cornice, you can see, metal cornice stripped, primed, painted, some details of it, stonework. It's important that the pieces of stone that had to be replaced and then we had to take out, we had to abate it. So these are just, stripping mock-ups that we had to do on stone.
Let me just insert something here that may be useful for us to say at this point. We found out that the stone coating is BMC. And I have to give credit to our colleague who's also a member of the SWRI, Mike Courtney, was Jean-Pelligny Courtney, because he worked on the building 35 years earlier, or 30 years earlier, and he remembered the product being BMC. For some reason, although it was BMC, the testing had enough lead in it that we were forced to abate the pieces of stones that were going to be removed. So what you're seeing in this slide is simply the mock-up testing of the different products that the contractor was going to, we were going to choose one of these products to abate, localized abatement of the pieces of stones that have to be either worked on or removed for replacement. Everything else on the building got stripped completely. We didn't really, they ran mock-ups with their abatement subs, the general contractor, but FRIMO wasn't as involved as with the stone, because the stone was localized abatement.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you for clarifying the point. So I'm just going to run through the stonework. This is an example of Dutchman patch and Dutchman repair and patch. You can see.
So this is a combination of patch and Dutchman repair.
This is the same image that we saw in the survey where the corner was broken, and this is a patching. This is the water table at the 7th floor. You can see it's segmented, and of course it was capped afterward. This is an example of Dutchman repair, and this is a preparation to receive the new stone. And here we're showing how the lettering, how we fix the lettering. The approach to it was to do the lettering by patching it. We did a lot of templates, trying to get the correct font of the lettering in order to restore it. You can see it finished here. The windowsills. This is a preparation to receive the new stone. Is the stone and then capped. And this is an example of the laser scanning and reverse engineering that we did on some of the very intricate ornamental pieces. This is the window cap, the keystone, sorry, on the arch windows. And you can see this is an image of the laser scan. These are the shop drawings, and here it is placed. Again, this is basically the column that kind of joined the two arch windows. This is the top part of it. Shop drawings placed. And this is the ornament piece at the lower part below the water table. Shop drawing. And this is in preparation to remove the deteriorated bad one. Preparation to receive the new one. Reverse engineered, placed. And this is an example of the repointing prep, and then the repointing being done. And then coating, I'm going to turn the presentation to Nadia to talk about the coating.
The most I felt that on this project, the most challenging part of the work on the entire building had to do with recoding the stone. We were very nervous as to what we're going to get when we apply new BMC over the existing BMC. We had to resolve with Proseco what millage is allowable, how we can build it, and also how to texture it. Because what we found out when we got on the building is that the building at some point in time, in addition to being painted or coated, it was also textured. We didn't know exactly how or what process was used before, but we knew that the only way we can texture is by introducing sand in one of the new coats of coating. So that was a sort of a lengthy process to resolve with Proseco, and it took many, many layers of mock-ups, which we'll get into in a little bit. The other challenge we really had in recoding the stone is cleaning the ornamental pieces, adequately cleaning them so that we can get good bond with the new coating. And I'm showing here the stone cornice that's below the metal cornice on one side of the facade, because that's where we had the most difficulty. So the contractor, after power washing, we get up there and we can put tools in all kinds of crevices and pull dirt and pull loose coating. And it turned out to be really time consuming with alpha waterproofing, dedicating people to hand clean all these details thoroughly so that we can recode them. Here we have an example of weathered stone that's sound and was previously painted, but in many places didn't have the same texture as the rest of the building. And that's where we needed to sort of incorporate broadcasting somewhere to texture.
Water, yeah, please.
Oh, sorry, how can we up the sound? All right, I'll try and speak louder. Just another example of areas that we struggled with for cleaning. Here are the start of the mock-ups. We started by doing the mock-ups of pieces of cement board and holding it against the building to try and match the texture. You can see on the sample that the worker is holding in his hand, the upper part of that sample is lightly textured, the lower part is heavily textured. We ended up having to try and match area by area, which is another layer of difficulty we had in the implementation, is how to make the stone look even and blend together, although we had areas that were more heavily textured than other areas that were lightly textured. And these are just examples of the numerous brush outs we had on the building to try and pin down the right texture in different areas. This is again an example of weathered stone that we had to introduce a little bit of texture to. And another example, or you can see within the same photograph, the variation of texture we had. This is an example of a finished corner on the stone where we had to lightly texture to blend in with the surrounding, as opposed to, you know, where areas where we had the heavy texture. And this is a close-up of a finished coating. Another example. So we're back to the windows. I just wanted to, you know, spend a few minutes discussing what I thought of was the most difficult aspect of the implementation of that work for me. And hopefully when we're done with the presentation, maybe Jacques Tabry with Alpha Restoration and Sarah can step in and shed some light on the challenges on their end. I'm going to turn it over back to Kai.
So continuing, this is an example of the wood windows, and as we saw in the survey, a lot of the wood windows were in good shape, except for the glass top and some of the sashes that they're very decayed. So this is an example of a window stripped and consolidated, primed and caulked, and then painted. Sorry, this is the primed, and this is the finished product, the painted one. This is a window sill metal cap, primed and painted. This is the water table, the upper lower table after it was capped and then painted. Now the bottom water table, we did do some cleaning in order to receive the new patching.
Well, there was some field patching.
There was some
that
field
had to be
patching. Yeah, we
removed.
had to remove that, and then we patched it, and then installed the sheet metal cap. So primed. The steel frame windows, I'm gonna just show an example of how it was stripped, primed, and then painted. And then at the bottom part, there is actually a plaster that was made to imitate the steel. So we just cleaned the looseness and the loose exfoliation on it, and then it was prepped and painted. So you can see the result there.
So in conclusion, I mean, we want to share some images of the completed building with you after the scaffolding was removed and the retail tenants were happy again. We thought, unfortunately, I'm sorry, we don't have a picture of the M seal that got installed between the building and the adjacent buildings on the vertical joint. But I just want to say in conclusion that we were very fortunate to be working with the team we were working with, including our client, who didn't really try to pressure us to cut corners or make things cheaper than we felt was necessary to produce work that meets good preservation standards. And this is a slide I just want to end up with when we know how it feels when clients have somebody cheaper who wants to do the work. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate your being here. Thanks all very much.
Thank you.
All right, nice job. I do have a question from Seth from Everest Waterproofing and Restoration. Seth, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, Nadia and Kai. Thank you for a great presentation. I see you were working with a Calusa Curry stone building. Since the Calusa is closed, what stone did you use to match the existing profile and color?
We used sandstone. We did not, luckily, the subcontractor who supplied the stone to the general contractor supplied us with different samples. We picked a color that was very close to the stone, was not a perfect match, but we didn't have to be concerned because it's painted.
Okay.
So we left that. We didn't have to try and source to exactly the same quarry where this stone came from because of the BMC on the stone.
Great, thank you.
And it came from Canada.
Oh, it came from Canada. Great, thank you. It's a wonderful job. Thank you.
I must say these guys were great because they actually supplied, everything got delivered on time and we were able to meet the schedule. We were very concerned initially, with the stone being shipped from Canada, but they were very committed to the schedule and we actually got everything on time.
Great, thank you. The building looks lovely and it was a great restoration work.
Thank you, Seth.
Okay.
So I have not, oh, go ahead, Kelly.
This is Kelly. Did you do your own laser scans or did you have a vendor for those?
We do not do our own laser scanning. So we had a vendor that we've worked with many times before to do the facade for the production of the construction documents. And then the stone subcontractor did the scanning for the reverse engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole, did we get any other questions?
We have not. So please speak up if you have a question.
Well, I have to ask one more. This is Kelly again. Nadia or Kai, was this bid on a guaranteed max contract or did you negotiate because obviously when the stripping's finished, et cetera, you uncover a lot more and different things. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. Thank you for that question. We bid the job, they selected the contractor, and we had sizable change orders. And all I can tell you is we were working with a client who was well positioned to spend the money and motivated to get the work done right. So we were very lucky, because of that.
It's always challenging, I can tell you that.
Yes, and the primary change orders, the big change orders came from the repointing work, because we found out, luckily the contractor had qualified with great precision the work that was going into the repointing. And we found out it was taking 3 times as much because of how hard the grout was in a lot of areas of the building. And the client understood that and compensated generously. They actually told me, don't spend a lot of time trying to torture the general contractor over the change orders. They're doing a great job. We just want to pay them what they ask. Which was really fantastic and rare.
Well, thank you,
Those are
Nadia.
hard to find. Go ahead, Jennifer, your floor.
Well, I was just going to thank Nadia and Kai for the great presentation. And it's very exciting to see so many members working together on a project too. So thank you very much for giving that presentation. And hopefully you guys will stick around. I think there's some other folks that were involved in the project on the call. So maybe others will run into them in the breakout rooms. So without, I think what we should do now is just go into the breakout rooms and catch up with our SWRI friends and show off your projects. So Nicole is going to set us up to be kind of disseminated into breakout rooms. And then after 15 minutes, and there will be a countdown clock, there should be on your screen. So you kind of know after 15 minutes as you're counting down when you're going to switch. So you're not in the middle of a conversation or something when that happens. So anyway, hope to see y'all here soon in the breakout rooms.
All right. I'm going to create 4 breakout rooms, and like Jennifer said, you guys will automatically be placed in them just randomly. So here I go. Let me set the time. All right. All is set.